Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. It's Mike Matthews. Have a seat.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Have a seat at a booth. Here at Café Anyway, it's Mike Matthews, and I sing to you when you sit down and you are hanging out. And it's true that Mike's Daily Podcast is broadcasting from a place that it's cool showbiz. It's the Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. It's Mike's
Daily Podcast.
Mike Matthews singing, and then we get to some topics. Welcome to Topics Land. It's the topic show.
Daily
Topical
Podcast.
Not toxic, but topic.
Yeah.
That's right. Although sometimes we wonder about Pink and her relationship with Chely Shoehart. Guess what? I've been in my rock song, and I don't need you tonight. It's all right. That would be Pink. No, not Mumford & Sons, but Pink and her song that she wrote about her husband, Chely Shoehart, way back when. Gosh, almost like 20 years ago, that song. Well, maybe not that many. 15 at least. But she has revealed, they're still married. They've had kids. She revealed that she and her husband, Chely Shoehart, nearly split again last year in a candid Instagram post celebrating their 18th wedding anniversary. That's amazing because that song happened way at the beginning, didn't it? She said, "Love is a lifetime of coming back to the table. We almost didn't make it to this one. Well, a couple of them, if I'm being honest." She said in a series of photos of her and the former motocross competitor through the years. "When I met you 22 years ago, I just wanted someone that wouldn't lie to me. I didn't have a clue about commitment, building a life together, intimacy and trust."
And here's today's podcast picture.
Ooh, the podcast picture is not of Pink or Chely Shoehart or their kids or anything like that. It is of the cool sunset I saw tonight. See that picture at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Anyway, she said it's hard, but man, if I'm not humbled by the surprise of loyalty, history, forgiveness, and resilience, how love rearranges itself and reappears after an empty night or 5, I'm proud we made it to the other side of this year. I think a lot of people would agree with her. They were happy to get rid of 2023. She is 44, and she's amazing, and I was recently checking out that album she did, Misunderstood. Remember that? The late, great Basil the Boxer enjoyed some Pink now and then. Although he was definitely more of a Kenny Rogers fan. I don't understand why. Maybe because of all the roasted chicken and whatnot. But yes, Pink. So she has something like 10.5 million followers, which I guess if you're a celebrity, that's just whatever. Drop in the bucket. And she wears the scars proudly. Her husband is 48, and she called him her stubborn, beautiful, immovable rock. The family we've built and the stories we've weaved together and the memories we continue to make are worth more than 1,000 million awards that anyone could give me. I love you. I love us. Adding the hashtags. Hashtag 18 years, hashtag I'm proud of you, hashtag family. Okay, I'm hashtag done with that stuff.
The Daily Haley. The almost Daily Haley.
I love Pink. I mean, I can't quote you every single song she's ever done, but she does interesting things. Like she sings with her father at the end of an album. Or she suddenly decides to do a country album with this guy, and was that Me and Him or Me and Her or something like that, or She and That Guy, or
The Cutting Corners Corner.
The Cutting Corners Corner. This from the Daily Wire. Academics and activists teamed up to create a guide to teaching critical race theory to young children. arguing that kids exhibit racial bias from as young as 3 years old. I don't know if I agree with that exactly. I mean, I didn't realize that there was even a thing called race or the races, whatever you want to say. I didn't even know that until somebody had to point it out to me. Some idiot. I should have just continued to live in my blissful ignorance. But that's what they're trying to do, is force it down the kids' throats. Titled Reflections on Children's Racial Learning, the guide was created by a leftist organization called Embrace Race and shares strategies to effectively inculcate liberal beliefs on race among young children. This, according to the Daily Wire.
Magnification.
So there's that. Daily Wire definitely has a right-leaning slant about it, but I had not heard of it. But that's interesting. I guess you could say. And the other thing from this, Biden, speaking of Republicans, Biden blames the Republicans for the border crisis, which the Republicans are blaming him. So there you go. That's how you fight that battle. Just blame game. But according to Politico, the Biden administration is attempting to flip the blame for the migrant crisis at the southern border onto Republicans in anticipation of Speaker Mike Johnson heading to the U.S. southern border. This was last week. The White House issued a statement accusing House GOPers of ducking the chance to address the issue they've been attacking. Actions speak louder than words, White House spokesperson Andrew Bates said in a statement first obtained by Politico ahead of that border visit by the Republicans. House Republicans' anti-border security record is defined by attempting to cut customs and border protection personnel, and by opposing President Biden's record-breaking border security funding. And the statement continues to say, refusing to take up the president's supplemental funding request. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth.
Mike's Out of Left Field Recordings.
Recording everything captures actions that will never again be repeated.
Wall Street Journal says the U.S., Britain, and key allies issued what officials described as a final warning to the Yemeni rebel group Wednesday to cease its attacks on the international shipping in the Red Sea or bear the consequences. The one thing we don't want is a replay of all the supply chain issues that we had a year ago, 2 years ago, stuff not getting to where it's supposed to get. And people these days are so into shopping online, having stuff delivered to them. Well, just think of the massive deliveries going across the globe. And the Red Sea is their way of getting through. A lot of supplies get through there much quicker than having to go all the way down and around the, what is it down there? The Horn of Hope or something like that. I have to look at a globe. Where's my globe? Outside of Café Anyway. Oh, it rolled away. Dang it. Well, this says ongoing Houthi attacks in the Red Sea are illegal, unacceptable, and profoundly destabilizing. This was a statement issued by more than a dozen nations. The Houthis will bear the responsibility of the consequences should they continue to threaten lives, the global economy, and free flow of commerce in the region's critical waterways. And the U.S. military has prepared options to strike the Iran-backed rebel group, U.S. officials said.
And now we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
That is causing, was it Maersk? That's a big supply cargo ship company is having to go the extra, like 10 times the normal trip to avoid the Red Sea, going further. And that is just causing all kinds of problems. Now, then there's Al-Qaeda, that's issued threats against U.S. airports, high-value individuals. This according to News Nation. The Transportation Security Administration is monitoring a potential terror threat against the United States from an affiliate of Al-Qaeda, known as the AQAP.
Magnification.
I bet when that door blew off, or that whatever they called the fuselage or whatever it was, not the fuselage, the part of the plane that came off and supposedly ripped off a kid's shirt. Thank God nobody was killed in that Boeing flight that you've no doubt heard about. Oh my gosh, that was so lucky. I feel bad for the people on the plane. I guess a lot of cell phones flew out the hole in the plane. But it could have been so much worse. And when that first happened, people might have thought, wow, that was because of this threat. The group has released alarming videos online calling for attacks on U.S. airlines, prominent figures, and iconic locations. The AQAP, identified as Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, posted videos this week urging terrorist actions on global flights and Times Square and the New York City subway. The content includes specific calls for attacks on Jewish and Western targets, singling out American, British, and French airlines. This was an Alaskan Airlines. So, notably high-profile individuals include Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Ben Bernanke, whose middle name is Shalom, Federal Reserve Chairman, named as potential targets. So, wow.
The Fascinating Material Project.
FM Project.
You probably heard a lot about that today, and about how Boeing is having all kinds of problems. Their stock is dropping. Oh, you know who else's stock is dropping? Big time is Odyssey. Now, you can listen to this podcast on the Odyssey app. But Odyssey is a huge radio conglomerate. Radio stations all over the country are owned by Odyssey, and they filed for bankruptcy. It is tough. It is tough in the radio business.
Ginormous.
And what they did, I don't know, maybe they couldn't keep expenses down. Maybe they were paying people too much money for what radio can afford. I know a guy that got a job at an Odyssey radio station, and he was bragging to me about how much he was making and how much vacation time he could take and this and that and all the other thing that sounded a bit unrealistic to me, especially he had experience. He worked for me. I gave him a ton of experience. Before he worked for me, though, he was working at a college radio station. So I don't know if he could really. Not many people can make that leap.
A fine article.
You silly, great, fat article.
We
love you, Mike.
The Marco Minute. The Marco Minute.
Ooh, I would sure love to work in San Francisco. Nope, didn't even look at me. Had all this radio experience, nothing. So, all I'm saying is Odyssey is now bankrupt. Now, I don't know what this means. I definitely think a lot of people are going to get let go. It could mean that the guy I know is going to get let go. I don't know. But tough times for them. Will Mike's Daily Podcast continue to be on the Odyssey app? Hopefully. I try to be on as many apps as I can. I will not make an app for this podcast because making an app is just throwing money away, because that technology is constantly getting updated. And people got too many apps on their phones as it is.
Whoa! Mike's Matthewsman Park.
The front panel will close automatically. Please remain seated at all times.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
So we talked about how Musk is under fire because he's got the SpaceX and he's getting government money for that. He's getting government money as well for his Starlink network because it helps out military people in Ukraine. And so he gets money from the government. Well, you can't have getting money from the government and be on drugs. I know that doesn't sound right. Maybe there's a general somewhere that's on drugs, but they're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to get money from the government and be on drugs because you're technically using that money, taxpayer money, to buy the drugs. Part of the thinking. Well, Tesla is recalling more than 1.6 million vehicles over issues with steering software and door locking systems. This comes less than a month after Tesla recalled 2 million cars in the U.S. due to autopilot software issues. Now, there was something like the over-the-air updates that was supposed to fix a lot of this stuff. Now, I got this from Nathan Speller from Newsroom. And I guess it's newsroom.marketeers.com. It's basically a PR company. But he says these recalls don't go far enough. Regulators must focus efforts on banning Tesla's full self-driving from public roads before more people are killed. That is according to expert Dan O'Dowd, who is a world leader on unfailing and unhackable software, with experience creating operating systems for Boeing. Not that that's something to brag about. Lockheed Martin and NASA. Dan founded the Dawn Project to make computers safe and ban unsafe software from safety critical systems.
Woo!
And he has said that Tesla recalls do not go far enough and do not give measurable timelines. There must be a timeline for Tesla to fix these defects. A voluntary recall is not sufficient for a defective software product that has been involved in 790 crashes in which 33 people have died, he says.
Magnification.
This recall is simply addressing the symptoms, not the cause. The NHTSA and other regulators must focus their efforts on banning Tesla full self-driving from public roads before more people are killed. The driving monitoring system is egregiously defective, as the Dawn Project has shown in its testing last year. Tesla has received NHTSA.
Hey, kids.
With the sham system for the past 2 decades. Has deceived NHTSA with the sham system for the past 2 decades. I wonder if my next door neighbor.
It's me.
He works for a self-driving technology company. I don't think it's Tesla, though.
Do-re me the clown.
I don't know. I should change the subject because I want to be on good terms with my neighbor. Even though I just found out today that my boss is moving to Podcaster Valley. So he's going to be my neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor? And finally, this also came to me from some kind of PR firm, but it says Italian beef, a beloved gem of Italian Chicagoan cuisine, is transcending its regional roots to become a national sensation. Those in the know have long cherished this hearty, flavor-packed dish, bringing a touch of Italy and Chicago to the hearts and palates of food enthusiasts everywhere. Are you a foodie or are you a food enthusiast? I think it's about time we stop using the word foodie. It's so 20 years ago. Now Italian beef is stepping into the spotlight as a national sensation, joining the ranks of classics like burgers, hot dogs, and pizza. Okay. I did not know. It does look delicious, but that is what they're trying to push there. At Jill Schmidt PR. Okay. Thank you. This came from Illinois, where Chicago is, where I guess this Italian beef comes from. I don't really know. I'm trying to stay away from beef. I'm trying to stay away from a lot of meat. And if I do eat meat, I want it to be the fish with the good fats, because I got a lot of bad fats in my body, and it's tough for me. I have to bring it down. I have to bring up the good fats, which you can get from fish like sardines, mackerel, salmon, from things like walnuts, from avocados. But you really got to stay away from the beef, from the red meat. even keep chicken try not to eat too much. Chicken is a healthier alternative if it's the white meat and you're not eating the skin. All these things, all these little caveats. Yeah, caveats. And can I eat caviar? Is that a fish? That's a fish, right? It's an expensive fish. I can't afford it anyway, so how can I not? How can I eat it? How? Oh, and I forgot to mention this. My lovely lady friend, she locked the keys in my car in downtown Oakland. And I was in Podcaster Valley at the time. That was a bit nerve-wracking. Thankfully, I've got this car roadside service thing that took care of it for free. And I didn't, thankfully, I didn't have to be there. But, that was a nerve-wracking thing this weekend. Well, I told my lovely lady friend, before you lock it, make sure they're in the pocket, the keys. And she went, oh, that rhymes. I go, yeah, it rhymes. That's why you know it's true. If it rhymes, it's true. Not always. Look who's here. Hello, Michael Myers. It's Madame Rootabega. I love being outside the cafe anyway. If it's all as these birds. Ooh, that's good. Did you see the cats, Rocky and Patches, walk by? Yes. Did you see the spirit of the late great Basil the Boxer go running by? Yes.
The word of dog.
Did you see Ben Bernanke? No. Oh, okay. He's alive, I think. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. We're hanging out with these guys.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, it's great to hang out with all these cool people at the cafe there.
Yeah, camaraderie. Do you know that? Excellent, guys. Camaraderie is a good thing. Let's all say hey to camaraderie. And you can say hey to me by calling this number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And if you would like to add your 10 cents, which with inflation means if you'd like to add your $10.50 to this podcast, you can also email me or go to my website. Please do that because I pay for it. And it'd be nice if someone visited it once in a while to check out the past podcast pictures and all that sort of thing. And to do that, with those sort of instructions, very quickly, it is A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com.
Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
And that was FF episode 2745. If you want to catch all the other past podcasts, go to MikesDailyPodcast.com.